I died on his doorstep at 2 a.m. The most dangerous man in Seoul, the billionaire mafia boss who'd sworn off love forever, carried my frozen body inside with his bare hands. I thought I was nobody to him, just another invisible face in his world of power and violence. But when he looked at me with those cold, dark eyes and whispered, "I've been watching you for 8 months," everything I believed shattered. He didn't save a stranger that night. He saved the woman he'd been falling for in silence, while I scrubbed his floors and dreamed of survival. This is how invisibility becomes obsession. How a debt becomes devotion. How the man who swore off love chose me anyway. And when his enemies came for me, he showed me exactly why they call him the most dangerous man in Seoul. I'd been invisible for 8 months. 8 months cleaning floors in Min-jun Park's private medical facility, scrubbing bloodstains the Seoul underworld left behind, existing in the spaces between his world and mine. Just another black international student working 3 jobs to survive Korean winter, another face he'd never remember. Then I collapsed on his doorstep at 2 a.m. during the worst blizzard in 15 years, my body shutting down from hypothermia and exhaustion. And the most dangerous man in Seoul, the billionaire mafia boss who'd rejected every woman who ever tried, carried me inside with his own hands. That's when I stopped being invisible. My name is Adana Okafor, and 23 hours before Min-jun Park saved my life, I was nobody to him. The restaurant shift ended at midnight. My fingers were raw from washing dishes, my university textbooks still unopened in my bag because exhaustion owned me now. I'd skipped dinner again. The 14,001 in my pocket had to last 3 more days, and my landlord was already threatening eviction. Seoul's winter didn't care about my budget. The temperature hit -15 Celsius as I walked toward my rented room in Itaewon, snow turning the streets into something beautiful and deadly. I told myself I just needed to make it 6 more blocks. 4 blocks in, my vision started swimming. The cold wasn't just outside anymore, it was inside, slowing my blood, stealing my breath. I'd worked 16-hour days for the past week, eating once daily, sleeping 4 hours when I was lucky. My body had been sending warnings I couldn't afford to hear. 2 blocks from safety, my legs gave out. I remember the ice against my cheek. The way sound disappeared into whiteness. Thinking about my mother back in Lagos who'd sacrificed everything for my education, who believed Korea would give me opportunities Nigeria couldn't. Thinking I was sorry. Then darkness. I woke up 26 hours later in a private medical suite that cost more than my yearly tuition. White silk sheets. Original artwork on the walls. Equipment I'd only seen in medical journals. My body was warm, for in my arm, monitors beeping steadily. For one confused moment, I thought I died and ended up somewhere I didn't belong. That's when I saw him. Min-jun Park stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's skyline, his back to me, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than everything I owned. 6 feet tall, shoulders that belonged on a swimmer, dark hair styled with the kind of precision that screamed money and control. When he turned, his face was sharp enough to cut, high cheekbones, a jaw that looked carved from marble, and eyes so dark they appeared black in the morning light. "You're awake." His voice was low, controlled, each word deliberate like he was used to people hanging on every syllable. I tried to sit up. Failed. "Where?" "My private facility." He moved closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something metallic. Blood, maybe. His world constantly reminded you what it cost. "You collapsed outside my establishment. Severe hypothermia. Core temperature was 32 degrees Celsius when we brought you in. Another 30 minutes and you'd be dead." My chest tightened. "Thank you. I'm sorry for the trouble." "You should apologize," he interrupted, his tone cold enough to match the weather outside. "Do you have any idea how reckless you were? Working yourself to exhaustion, walking through a blizzard in a denim jacket." I looked down at my hands. Rough from labor, nails broken from cleaning chemicals. Everything about me screamed poverty in this room full of wealth. I didn't mean to be trouble. He studied me for a long moment, and I felt the weight of his attention like physical pressure. This was a man who saw everything, missed nothing, made decisions that destroyed empires. I was just a broke student who'd made the mistake of nearly dying on his property. Rest today, he finally said. Someone will bring your discharge paperwork tomorrow. After he left, I lay there trying not to cry. I'd survived. But survival always came with a price. The next morning, a woman in crisp medical attire entered carrying a tablet. Miss Okafor, your billing statement. My hands shook taking it. The number blurred, then crystallized into something impossible. 47 million won. Roughly 38,000 US dollars. More than my entire university tuition. More than I could earn in 2 years at my current jobs. My vision tunneled, the room spinning. This can't be right. One night in our private suite, IV therapy, monitoring equipment, specialized warming treatment. She smiled sympathetically. You'll need to discuss payment with boss Min-jun. I forced myself upright on legs that felt like water. Followed her through corridors lined with marble and original art, each piece probably worth more than my life. We stopped at massive double doors, and my heart hammered against my ribs. Inside, Min-jun sat behind an enormous desk reviewing documents, reading glasses perched on his nose. He didn't acknowledge my entrance for 30 seconds. When he did look up, removing the glasses slowly, his expression gave nothing away. You're mobile. Good. Sir, regarding the bill, my voice cracked. Start over. I cannot pay this amount. Everyone settles their debts. No warmth. No mercy. Just fact. I could beg. I could cry. I could throw myself at his feet like probably hundreds had before me. But something deep inside, maybe stupidity, maybe the last shred of dignity I had left refused to break. I'm not asking for charity, I said, meeting his eyes even though it felt like staring into an abyss. Let me work it off. Cleaning, filing, whatever you need. Any task. I'll do it. Silence stretched between us. His eyes narrowed slightly, the only sign I'd surprised him. Work. He repeated the word like testing its weight. You're a university student working 3 jobs who just survived hypothermia and you want to add a 4th? I hate owing anyone. My hands clenched at my sides. You saved my life. I repay you with labor. That's the deal I'm offering. More silence. I watched him lean back in his chair, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. This was a man who'd built an empire on reading people, on knowing their breaking points, their weaknesses. I wondered what he saw when he looked at me. Fine. The single word felt like a verdict. Start today. My operations manager will assign your duties. I bowed, Korean style, deeper than necessary. Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint you. Walking out, I told myself this was manageable. Just work. Just survival. I didn't know that Min-jun Park watched me leave with an expression he hadn't worn in 15 years. Confusion. The facility operated like a small hospital on the surface, legitimate medical services for Seoul's elite. But I wasn't stupid. The patients who arrived at 3 a.m. with gunshot wounds, the men in expensive suits who never gave their real names, the way staff moved with military precision. This was Min-jun's legitimate front for something darker. My first day, the head nurse Ji-hai cornered me in the supply room. You don't belong here. Just working off a debt. Women like you always have an angle. She crossed her arms, designer nails tapping against her tablet. Poor international student, vulnerable, catches the boss's attention. We've seen it before. I'm not trying to catch anyone's attention. Sure you're not. Her smile was sharp. You won't last a week. I lasted 3 weeks. Every day after my university classes, I worked 6-hour shifts. Sterilizing equipment, organizing supply rooms, filing patient records, guiding visitors. The work was exhausting but straightforward. The judgment from staff was harder. They whispered when I passed. Made sure I heard comments about charity cases and opportunistic foreigners. I ignored all of it. I'd survived worse than gossip. What I couldn't ignore was Min-jun. He was everywhere and nowhere. I'd feel his presence before seeing him, the way conversations stopped, how people straightened their posture. He moved through the facility like a king inspecting his kingdom, missing nothing. And increasingly, I felt his eyes on me. Not creepy. Not predatory. Just watching. At week 3, I was carrying a heavy container of medical supplies when it slipped. The crash echoed through the corridor like a gunshot. Bottles scattered across the marble floor, and every head turned. Clumsy, Ji-hai snapped. This is exactly why you don't belong. Enough. Min-jun's voice cut through the space like a blade. He'd appeared from his office, and his expression was arctic. She works harder than any of you. His gaze swept the gathered staff, and I watched them shrink. If anyone has problems with her presence, leave now. Your severance will be generous. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I knelt to gather the scattered supplies, my face burning with embarrassment and something else I couldn't name. When I glanced up, Min-jun was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. Then he turned and walked away. That night, lying in my tiny rented room, I pressed my hands against my racing heart. The most powerful man in Seoul had just defended me in front of his entire staff. I told myself it meant nothing. I told myself I was nobody to him. I was wrong. Week 5 brought the first crack in Min-jun's armor. I was leaving late after a double shift, exhausted enough that I didn't register the black SUV running the red light until headlights filled my vision. My body froze, that stupid animal instinct that gets people killed. Then strong arms yanked me backward. I collided with a solid chest, the air rushing from my lungs. My feet left the ground for a moment as momentum carried us both back onto the sidewalk. The SUV screamed past where I'd been standing, close enough that I felt the wind displacement. My heart hammered against my ribs. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what just happened. Are you trying to die again? Min-jun's voice was rough, fury vibrating through each word. His arms were still around me, holding me against his chest. I could feel his heart pounding as fast as mine. I didn't see. You never see danger until it's too late. His grip tightened. Do you have any idea what? He stopped himself, jaw clenching so hard I could see the muscle jump. For a moment, something raw flickered across his face. Then he released me abruptly and stepped back. Get home safely, he said, his voice controlled again. Cold again. But I'd seen it. That flash of something that wasn't cold at all. The rumors started immediately. Did you see? The boss saved her again. Why does he care about some random student? She must be sleeping with him. The words cut deeper than I wanted to admit. I'd never asked for Min-jun's attention, never wanted people thinking I was using him. That evening, I gathered every ounce of courage and knocked on his office door. Enter. He was reviewing documents, reading glasses on, 3 computer monitors displaying what looked like financial data. He didn't look up. Sir, I need to say something. Speak. I took a breath. Thank you for saving me tonight. But please stop protecting me. It's making people think, it's making things difficult. Now he looked up, set down his pen, removed his glasses with deliberate slowness. When his eyes met mine, they were unreadable. You think I care about gossip? I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden. For words. Simple. Direct. But they hit like lightning. I fled before he could see my tears. Behind his desk, Min-jun sat motionless for 10 minutes after she left. His chest felt strange. Heavy. Like something was pressing against his ribs from the inside. He'd spent 15 years building walls around his heart. After watching his first love die in a rival gang's attack, he'd made a vow. No weaknesses. No vulnerabilities. No love. But Adana Okafor was dismantling those walls brick by brick without even trying. Week 7. I was organizing supply closets after hours, humming a Nigerian lullaby my mother used to sing. Omomi, Sun Rio. The melody was soft, familiar, home in sound form. I didn't know Min-jun was in the hallway. He'd stopped walking, arrested by the sound. The tune was foreign but achingly beautiful, gentle yet filled with emotion that reminded him of something he'd lost. Warmth. Home. The possibility of something beyond violence and strategy. He stood there for 3 minutes, just listening. Then, before she could notice, he walked away with his heart doing something it hadn't done in 15 years. Aching. That night, I dreamed of warm eyes watching me in the snow. That night, Min-jun sat in his penthouse office staring at profit reports, but hearing only her song. Neither of us spoke it. Neither dared admit it. But something was growing between us, and Min-jun, the man who swore off love, couldn't stop it anymore. Week 8 brought the breaking point. Most staff had left for the night. I was finishing patient records in a small office when Min-jun appeared in the doorway. No warning. No sound. Just suddenly there. Still working. I looked up, startled. I have exams approaching. Need to stay current with everything. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The room suddenly felt too small. You work all day. Study all night. When do you rest? When I succeed. I smiled faintly. Something shifted in his expression. You're different. My heart skipped. Different. Forget I said that. But the word hung between us, heavy with meaning neither of us was ready to examine. Over the next 3 days, Min-jun started doing things that confused me. A coffee appeared on my desk with no explanation, made exactly how I liked it even though I'd never told him. When a visitor was rude to me, Min-jun had them removed from the facility permanently. He asked if I'd eaten breakfast, shocking us both. Then came the scarf. We were leaving together on a particularly cold night, snow falling in thick curtains. I hugged my thin coat tighter, my breath forming clouds. Korea is so cold, I laughed softly. Without a word, Min-jun unwound the expensive scarf from his neck and wrapped it around mine. His fingers brushed my throat, and electricity shot through my entire body. Sir, I can't. You'll get sick again. His voice was firm, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. I touched the scarf, still warm from his body, carrying his subtle cologne, cedar, and something darker. When I looked up, his expression was unguarded for just a moment. Raw. My heart raced. My hands trembled. Everything I'd been trying to deny crashed over me like a wave. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say more. His dark eyes held mine, and I saw something I'd never expected to see in Min-jun Park. Vulnerability. Then he turned away. Get home safely. I stood in the falling snow, heart hammering, his scarf warm around my neck. I wore it every day after that. He never asked for it back. Week 9. Late evening. The facility was empty except for us. I was in a small office finishing records when Min-jun entered. This time, his expression was different. Determined. Almost desperate. Adana. My name in his voice made my pulse spike. Yes. I need to tell you something. He moved closer, hands clenched at his sides. I've spent 15 years pushing people away. Building walls. Believing love was a weakness I couldn't afford. My breath caught. But since the night I found you in the snow, I haven't been the same. His voice dropped lower, rougher. You've been breaking down walls I thought were permanent. And I can't stop thinking about you. The room spun. This couldn't be real. Min-jun Park, the man who rejected everyone, who swore off love, was standing in front of me confessing something impossible. Sir, I don't understand. I'm falling for you, Adana. The words came out firm, decisive, like he'd already made peace with them. I've been falling for you since you stood in my office and demanded to work off your debt instead of begging. Tears burned my eyes. You can't mean that. I've controlled everything in my life except this. He took another step closer. Tell me I'm alone in this. Tell me you don't feel it too. I should have lied. Should have protected us both. Instead, the truth spilled out. I feel it. My voice broke. Every day I try to fight it, tell myself it's impossible, but I feel it growing stronger. The air between us shifted. Charged. Dangerous. Then stop fighting it, he whispered. When he cupped my face with both hands, his palms were rough from violence, but gentle with me. When he kissed me, it was nothing like I expected. Not possessive or demanding. Questioning. Asking permission with every movement. I answered by kissing him back. The kiss lasted maybe 10 seconds. Maybe a year. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. I choose you, he said softly. Whatever it costs. I choose you too. The next morning, Dae-hyun, Min-jun's second-in-command, confronted him in his office. I heard the shouting from 3 rooms away. This girl is not from our world. She has no protection, no connections. Enough. You're putting everything at risk for. I said enough. Min-jun's voice was arctic. I've rejected every woman who tried to stand by me. But Adana is the one who makes me want to live, not just survive. I will not leave her. When I heard this later from a nervous staff member, I cried. Not from fear. From understanding what he'd risked for me. That evening, Min-jun found me in an empty corridor. Without a word, he pulled me into his arms. You risked everything, I whispered against his chest. I didn't risk anything. His voice was steady. I gained everything. We stood there holding each other while the facility hummed around us, two people from different worlds choosing each other anyway. Week 12 brought violence. I was walking to the facility after class when 3 men stepped from an alley. My body knew danger before my mind processed it. "You're Park's girl," one said in Korean. I backed away, reached for my phone. The leader grabbed my wrist, yanking me forward. Pain shot up my arm. Send him a message. The first punch caught my ribs. I heard something crack. The second hit my face and my vision exploded into stars. I hit the ground hard, tasted blood, tried to curl into a ball. Then I heard his voice. "Get away from her." Min-jun's tone was death itself. Through blurred vision, I saw him appear with 5 of his men. The rage on his face would have terrified me if it wasn't directed at my attackers. What happened next was surgical violence. Efficient. Brutal. 30 seconds and all 3 men were on the ground, unconscious or wishing they were. Then Min-jun was kneeling beside me, his hands shaking as they checked my injuries. "Adana, look at me." I tried to focus through the pain. "I'm okay. You're not okay. You have broken ribs," and his voice cracked. Actually cracked. "I should have protected you better. You saved me." He lifted me carefully, cradling me against his chest like I weighed nothing. "I'm taking you to my private hospital. The real one. And then I'm ending the family who ordered this." At the hospital, I learned my injuries. 3 cracked ribs, facial contusions, bruised wrist. Painful but not permanent. Min-jun never left my side during treatment. Held my hand through every procedure. "The debt," I said groggily, pain medication making everything soft. "The 47 million won. Forget it." His voice was firm. "It's been paid." "What?" "I paid your debt the day you asked to work it off." He stroked hair back from my bruised face. "I just wanted you close." Through tears and pain medication, I whispered, "Why?" "Because I noticed you 8 months before you collapsed." His confession was quiet, almost embarrassed. "The way you organized supplies by efficiency, not alphabetically. How you hummed when you thought nobody was listening. The coffee you made was always too strong, but you drank it anyway because you were too tired to make another pot. I noticed everything, Adana. I was falling for you long before you knew I existed." I started crying in earnest then. 8 months. I told myself it was nothing. That I was just observing a worker. But I knew. He pressed his forehead against mine carefully, avoiding my bruises. "I've known for 8 months that you were going to ruin me." "I love you," I said, the words falling out with chemical honesty. His eyes closed. "I love you too. So much it terrifies me." 2 weeks later, Min-jun called a meeting with the rival family who'd ordered my attack. I insisted on being there. "Adana, you don't need to see. I want to see." He studied my face, still bruised but healing, then nodded. The meeting was in a warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. 10 of their men. 15 of ours. The rival boss, Kim Sung-ho, looked between Min-jun and me with calculating eyes. "This is about the girl?" "This is about you making the mistake of touching what's mine," Min-jun said quietly. Dangerously. "We were sending a message." "You sent it. Now I'm replying." What followed was a negotiation I barely understood, filled with territory concessions and financial penalties. But the message was clear: attacking me had cost Kim's family dearly. By the end, Kim bowed, a sign of submission, and his men followed. As we left, Min-jun's hand found mine. "Justice," he said simply. 3 months after the attack, my ribs healed. Min-jun took me to his penthouse for the first time. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked all of Seoul, the city lights spreading like stars below us. "I have something to ask you," he said. My heart started racing. "What?" He turned to face me fully, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Nervousness. Min-jun Park, the most dangerous man in Seoul, was nervous. I spent 15 years believing I was better off alone. That love would weaken me. That I couldn't protect what I loved. He took my hands. Then you collapsed in my snow and everything I believed shattered. You showed me that love isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength I've ever known. Tears were already falling. Adana Okafor, you are my heart. My home. My forever. He knelt, producing a small box. Will you marry me? The ring was perfect, elegant, but not ostentatious, with a stone the color of my favorite Nigerian sunsets. Through tears, I could barely speak. Yes. 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 He stood, sliding the ring on my finger, then kissed me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When we broke apart, I was laughing and crying simultaneously. I love you, he whispered against my lips. I love you too. All of you. Even the dangerous parts. Especially the dangerous parts, he corrected with the smallest smile. 6 months later, we married in a ceremony that blended Nigerian and Korean traditions. My mother flew in from Lagos, crying through the entire event. Daehyun stood as Min-jun's best man, having fully accepted our relationship. The facility staff attended, even Ji-hye, who'd apologized 3 months earlier with tears in her eyes. I wore traditional Nigerian wedding attire for the first ceremony, the vibrant fabrics making Min-jun's eyes widen. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, he said in Korean, then repeated it in carefully practiced Igbo that made my mother sob harder. For the Korean ceremony, I wore a hanbok while Min-jun wore a traditional dress. When we bowed to our parents, accepting blessings from both cultures, I felt the completeness of it. 2 worlds merged through choice and love. Our first dance was to a fusion of Nigerian highlife and Korean ballad, and halfway through, Min-jun leaned down to whisper, I was invisible to love for 32 years. Then you saw me. I was invisible to everyone, I whispered back. Then you saw me. I see you, we said together. 1 year later, I stood in Min-jun's facility, now officially co-managed by both of us. My medical degree was complete, my student debt paid, my work permit secured. The staff who once judged me now respected me. Some had become friends. Ji-hye approached me in the break room. I owe you an apology I've never properly given. You already. No, let me finish. She took a breath. I judged you for being different, for being poor, for being foreign. I said you didn't belong. But you belonged here more than any of us, because you never wanted anything except the chance to work. To survive. You taught me something about strength I needed to learn. I hugged her. She hugged back. That evening, Min-jun found me in our shared office, reviewing patient files. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. Tired. Always, I laughed. But happy. Good. He kissed my temple. Because I have news. My heart jumped. What news? I'm retiring from the organization. Daehyun is taking full control. I spun to face him. What? Why? His smile was soft, genuine, an expression reserved only for me. Because I spent 15 years building an empire on violence and strategy. I want to spend the next 15 building something else. With you. Maybe a family. Maybe just peace. But I'm done with that world. Tears blurred my vision. You'd give it all up? I'm not giving up anything. He cupped my face. I'm choosing everything that matters. We stood in our office, holding each other while Seoul glittered outside our windows. 2 people who'd been invisible, me to the world, him to love, finally seen completely. That night, lying in bed in our home, Min-jun traced patterns on my shoulder. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For collapsing in my snow. For demanding to work instead of begging. For being stubborn enough to break through my walls. For teaching me that love isn't weakness. He paused. For saving me. I turned to face him in the darkness. You saved me first. We saved each other. And in the warm safety of our home, 2 people from different worlds slept peacefully, no longer invisible to anyone, especially each other. If this story made you believe in love that breaks through walls, hit that like button and subscribe for more romance stories that'll make you feel seen. Drop a comment telling us, have you ever felt invisible until someone finally noticed you? Thanks for watching until the end. You're the real ones.